My wife stood in our kitchen, laughing. I'd just told her I couldn't afford a lawyer for the divorce. She threw her head back and cackled like she'd won the lottery. But what she didn't know was that her laughter was about to cost her everything. Because while she was too busy celebrating, I was already 10 steps ahead. Before we continue, please comment below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to help us hit that big 1,000 subscriber milestone. Let me take you back to where this nightmare started. 3 months earlier. I was grading papers in my office at the university when Vanessa walked through the front door. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I taught my African American history seminar on Tuesdays. She never came home early on Tuesdays. I looked up from Frederick Douglass's autobiography and saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Cold, detached, like she was looking at a stranger. "We need to talk," she said. Those 4 words, they changed everything. I set down my pen. "What's wrong?" "I want a divorce, Malcolm." No build-up, no explanation, just those 5 words delivered like she was ordering takeout. I sat there, frozen. We'd been married for 18 years. 18 years of building a life together. Sunday dinners after church, summer barbecues with family, late-night conversations about everything and nothing. Or so I thought. "A divorce," I finally managed. "Vanessa, what are you talking about? Where is this coming from?" She crossed her arms. "I've sacrificed my career for you, Malcolm. 18 years I put your dreams first, your teaching, your research, your books that nobody reads, while I stayed home and played the supportive wife. I felt like I'd been slapped. You told me you wanted to focus on interior design from home. That was your choice." "My choice?" She laughed, sharp, bitter. "I gave up everything so you could be Professor Reynolds. Well, I'm done. I deserve compensation for all those lost years." That's when she hit me with it. She wanted the house, 60% of my pension, alimony for 10 years. She'd already filed the papers, already hired Kenneth Morrison, one of the best divorce attorneys in the city. I looked at the woman I'd loved since college, the woman I'd married at Mount Zion Baptist with our families watching. I didn't recognize her anymore. "Vanessa, we can work this out. We can go to counseling." "I don't want to work it out." She grabbed her purse. "My lawyer will be in touch. Oh, and Malcolm, you might want to get yourself a lawyer too. You're going to need one." She walked out, just like that. 18 years erased in 15 minutes. I sat in that empty house for hours, staring at wedding photos on the wall, pictures of us at family reunions in South Carolina, our trip to Martha's Vineyard for our 10th anniversary. Every memory felt like a lie. But here's the thing about being a history professor. You learn to research, to investigate, to dig beneath the surface for the truth. And something about Vanessa's story didn't add up. She claimed she'd sacrificed her career for me, but I remembered it differently. She'd had a small interior design business when we got married. It never took off. After a few years, she said she wanted to try something else. I supported her. I always supported her. So I started looking into our finances, really looking. That's when I found the first discrepancy. A withdrawal from our joint savings, $15,000, then another one. $20,000, all within the past 3 years, all marked as business expenses for her interior design work. But Vanessa barely had any clients, maybe 2 or 3 a year at most. I dug deeper, credit card statements I'd never seen before, cards in my name that I never opened, charges at restaurants I'd never been to, hotels in cities I'd never visited. Someone had been using my identity, and I had a pretty good idea who. But that wasn't even the worst part. I found an email she'd forgotten to delete from our shared computer. It was from someone named Antoine. The message was short, sweet, disgusting. "Can't wait to see you this weekend, baby. Bring that good wine you bought with the money from the account." My hands shook as I clicked through more emails. There were dozens, hundreds, going back 5 years. 5 years of lies. 5 years of her stealing from our accounts to fund a secret life with this man. Trips to Atlanta, weekend getaways to Miami, all while I was teaching summer classes to build up our savings she was draining dry. I printed everything, bank statements, credit card bills, emails, text messages I recovered from her old phone that she thought she'd wiped clean. I organized it all in folders, labeled them by date. I'm a professor. Organization is what I do. Then I went to see a lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer, a criminal lawyer. Because what Vanessa had done wasn't just betrayal. It was fraud, identity theft, forgery. She'd been signing my name on credit applications for years. The lawyer looked at my evidence. His eyes got wider with every page. "Mr. Reynolds, your wife has committed multiple felonies here. We're talking serious prison time if this goes to court." "What do I do?" I asked. He leaned back in his chair. "In a divorce proceeding? You destroy her. But you're going to need a pit bull of a lawyer to do it, someone who doesn't play nice, someone who'll go for the throat." I only knew one lawyer like that, and I hadn't spoken to him in 9 years. My brother Gregory. Gregory and I had been close growing up, 2 years apart. We did everything together: basketball in the driveway, Sunday school at church, college applications. But then our father died, and everything fell apart. There was a disagreement about the will, about who got what. Things were said, harsh things. We both drew lines in the sand, and we hadn't crossed them since. I stared at his business card that I'd kept in my desk drawer all these years: Gregory Reynolds, attorney at law. He'd made a name for himself in Chicago: ruthless, brilliant, expensive. He specialized in high-stakes divorce cases. He didn't just win, he annihilated. But calling him meant swallowing my pride, admitting I needed help, admitting he was right about some things all those years ago. I picked up the phone 3 times before I finally dialed. He answered on the second ring. "Gregory Reynolds." "Greg, it's Malcolm." Silence. Long, heavy. Then, "Malcolm, it's been a while." 9 years. 9 years, 3 months, and 12 days. But who's counting? His voice was cool, professional, guarded. "What do you need?" I could have made small talk, asked about his life, his practice, but we were both too old for games. "I need a lawyer, a good one, and I know you're the best." "Divorce?" "Yeah, but it's complicated. It always is. Come to my office tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring everything you've got." He hung up before I could thank him. The next morning, I drove 3 hours to Chicago. Gregory's office was on the 40th floor of a glass tower downtown. Everything about it screamed success: leather furniture, original artwork on the walls, a view of Lake Michigan that probably cost more than my annual salary. Gregory stood when I walked in. He looked good. Older, sure. Gray at his temples now, but fit, sharp, wearing a suit that cost more than my car payment. We shook hands. Awkward, formal. "Sit," he said. "Tell me everything." I did. I told him about Vanessa's divorce demands, the accusations that she sacrificed her career, the evidence I'd found, the embezzlement, the forged signatures, Antoine, all of it. Gregory listened without interrupting, taking notes. His face gave nothing away. When I finished, he sat back and steepled his fingers. "Your wife is an idiot," he said flatly. "She committed multiple felonies and left a paper trail a blind man could follow. And she's demanding alimony? That takes a special kind of stupid. Can you help me?" He looked at me, really looked at me. And for a second, I saw my brother again. Not the successful attorney, not the man I'd fought with at our father's funeral, just Greg, the kid who used to have my back on the playground. "Malcolm, I'm going to do more than help you." He leaned forward. "I'm going to destroy her, completely, legally, and she's going to wish she'd just walked away clean. But I need to know something first. Are you ready for this? Because once I start, there's no going back. This won't be pretty." I thought about Vanessa's laugh in our kitchen, her smug confidence, the years of lies, the stolen money, the betrayal. "I'm ready," I said. Gregory smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a shark who just spotted blood in the water. "Good, because we've got a court date in 2 weeks. And your wife is about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating the Reynolds brothers." 2 weeks. That's all the time we had before the court hearing. Vanessa thought she had me cornered. No lawyer, no money, no fight left in me. She had no idea that the best divorce attorney in Illinois was about to walk into that courtroom. And he was my blood. Gregory worked like a man possessed. Every night he called me with updates. Every morning he sent me new documents to review. He wasn't just building a case, he was building a nuclear weapon. "Malcolm, I need you to get me access to your home computer," he said on day 3, "the one you share with Vanessa." She changed all the passwords after she moved out. "That's fine. I just need you to physically access it. Can you do that?" I drove to the house the next day. Vanessa wasn't there. She'd moved in with her mother across town, claimed she couldn't bear to be under the same roof as me. The house felt like a tomb, empty, cold, pictures of us still on the walls, mocking me with their lies. I found the computer in her home office. Gregory had sent me a flash drive with some kind of recovery software. I plugged it in, waited. 20 minutes later, the screen filled with files, documents, spreadsheets, more emails, things she thought she'd deleted forever. I copied everything and sent it to Gregory. He called me an hour later. "Malcolm, your wife is even dumber than I thought. She kept detailed records of every dollar she stole. There's a spreadsheet labeled Atlanta Fund. She literally documented her own crimes." "Why would she do that?" "Arrogance. She never thought you'd find out, never thought you'd fight back. She thought you were too soft, too passive, too nice." He paused. She was wrong. But here's what I didn't know yet. Gregory had found something else in those files, something he wasn't telling me about. Something he was saving for the courtroom. A week before the hearing, I ran into Vanessa at the grocery store. She was in the produce section, picking through apples like she didn't have a care in the world. When she saw me, her face twisted into that same smug smile. "Malcolm?" She said my name like it tasted bad. "Still planning to show up to court without a lawyer. That's bold," I wanted to tell her, wanted to see her face when she realized what was coming. But Gregory had been clear. "Don't tip our hand. Let her walk into that courtroom thinking she's already won. The shock will be sweeter." So I just nodded. "I'll be there," she laughed. That same cruel laugh from our kitchen. "This is going to be the easiest payday Kenneth has ever made. I almost feel bad for you. Almost." She walked away. Her shopping cart full of expensive organic produce. Paid for with money she'd stolen from me, no doubt. I texted Gregory. "Just saw Vanessa. She's still confident. Still thinks I'm coming in without representation." His response was immediate. "Perfect. Keep it that way." 3 days before the hearing, Gregory invited me to his office for a final prep session. When I walked in, his conference table was covered in documents, 3 feet high, all evidence, all damning. "Sit down, little brother," he said. It was the first time he'd called me that in 9 years. "Let me show you how this is going to go." He walked me through the strategy, every move, every counter-move. He had anticipated everything Vanessa's lawyer would argue: the sacrificed career angle, the disparity in income, the need for spousal support. Gregory had responses for all of it. "She's going to claim she gave up her career to support yours. We're going to show the judge that her interior design business was barely functional before you got married. We have tax returns proving she made less than $3,000 a year from it." "What about the embezzlement?" Gregory's smile was cold. "That's the kill shot. But we don't lead with it. We let her lawyer make his case. Let Vanessa get comfortable on that witness stand. Let her tell her sad story about sacrificing everything. And then we bury her. What if the judge doesn't care? What if—" "Malcolm," Gregory cut me off. "Judge Henrietta Price doesn't play games. She's been on the bench for 20 years. She's seen every scam, every lie, every manipulation, and she hates people who waste her time with fraud. Trust me. When she sees what Vanessa did, it's over." But that wasn't even the worst part. "There's something else," Gregory said. He pulled out a document and slid it across the table. "I found this in Vanessa's files. It's a quitclaim deed for your house, signed with your name, dated 6 months ago. According to this document, you transferred full ownership of the house to her as a gift." My blood ran cold. "I never signed that." "I know, but it's been filed with the county. It's official. On paper, she owns your house free and clear." "That's forgery. That's a felony. Yes, which brings me to the nuclear option." Gregory leaned forward. "I've been in contact with the state's attorney's office. They're very interested in your wife's creative accounting. If we present this evidence in court, Vanessa won't just lose the divorce case. She'll be facing criminal charges, real prison time, 5 to 10 years minimum." I sat back. This was bigger than I thought, bigger than a divorce. This was Vanessa's entire life imploding. Will you do it? I asked. That depends. What do you want, Malcolm? Do you want justice, or do you want revenge? I thought about that question for a long time. About 18 years of marriage, about trust broken, about money stolen, about a forged signature on a deed to my own house, about Antoine, whoever he was, living off my hard-earned money. I want her to know she can't do this to people, I said finally. I want her to understand there are consequences. Gregory nodded slowly. Then we go nuclear. But Malcolm, once we do this, there's no reconciliation, no second chances. Your marriage won't just be over. It'll be scorched earth. It's already scorched earth. She did that, not me. The day before the hearing, Gregory called me one last time. Get a good night's sleep, wear your best suit, and Malcolm, don't react to anything in that courtroom, no matter what Vanessa says, no matter what lies she tells. You keep your face neutral. You let me handle everything. Can you do that? I can do that. Good. Because tomorrow, we're going to make history. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what Gregory said, about how Vanessa thought I was too soft, too passive, too nice. Maybe I had been. Maybe I'd spent so many years being the understanding husband, the patient professor, the peacemaker in the family, that I'd forgotten how to fight. But I wasn't alone anymore. I had my brother back. And together, we were about to remind Vanessa who the Reynolds brothers really were. The morning of the hearing, I put on my navy suit, the one I wore to church on Easter. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked tired, older, but there was something else in my eyes, something harder, something that hadn't been there before. I drove to the courthouse. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Gregory was already there, standing outside the courtroom in a charcoal suit that probably cost $3,000. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine, confident, powerful, dangerous. You ready? He asked. As ready as I'll ever be. We walked into the courtroom together. Vanessa was already seated at the plaintiff's table with Kenneth Morrison. When she saw me, she started to smile. That superior, condescending smile that said she'd already won. Then she saw Gregory. Her smile froze. Her eyes went wide. She grabbed Kenneth's arm and whispered something urgent. Kenneth looked over at us, and I saw his expression change. He knew who Gregory was. Every lawyer in Illinois knew who Gregory was. Gregory set his briefcase on the defense table, opened it slowly, pulled out a stack of folders 6 inches thick. He arranged them carefully, methodically, like a surgeon preparing his instruments. Vanessa leaned over to Kenneth again. This time her whispers were frantic. I could see the panic creeping into her face, the realization that maybe, just maybe, she'd made a terrible mistake. Judge Price entered. We all stood. She was exactly what Gregory had described. Late 50s, no-nonsense expression. Eyes that looked like they could see through lies like glass. Be seated, she said. Let's begin. Mrs. Reynolds, your petition, please. Kenneth Morrison stood, straightened his tie, cleared his throat. Your Honor, my client seeks dissolution of an 18-year marriage in which she sacrificed her career and economic opportunities to support her husband's academic pursuits. We're asking for fair compensation for those sacrifices, including the marital home, 60% of Mr. Reynolds' pension, and spousal support for 10 years. Judge Price looked at me. Mr. Reynolds, I see you've retained counsel. Mr. Gregory Reynolds, are you two related? Gregory stood. Brothers, Your Honor. How touching. What's your response to the petition? Gregory smiled. That shark smile. Your Honor, we're prepared to present evidence that will completely refute every claim Mrs. Reynolds has made. In fact, we're prepared to show that Mrs. Reynolds has committed multiple felonies in an attempt to defraud my brother of his assets, his identity, and his financial future. The courtroom went silent. Kenneth Morrison's face went pale. Vanessa grabbed the edge of the table. Judge Price leaned forward. That's a serious accusation, Mr. Reynolds. I hope you can back it up. Oh, I can, Your Honor. Gregory picked up the first folder. I most certainly can. Gregory opened the first folder like he was unveiling a masterpiece, and in a way, he was. A masterpiece of destruction. Vanessa shifted in her seat. Kenneth Morrison looked like he wanted to be anywhere else, and I sat perfectly still, just like Gregory told me to. Your Honor, Gregory began, let me start with Mrs. Reynolds's claim that she sacrificed her career for her husband. These are her tax returns from the 5 years before their marriage. He handed copies to the judge and to Kenneth. I watched Judge Price's eyes scan the pages. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her eyebrow rise slightly. As you can see, Mrs. Reynolds's interior design business generated an average of $2,800 per year, barely enough to cover her business license. After marriage, these numbers didn't decline. They stayed exactly the same for 18 years. So the question is, Your Honor, what career did she sacrifice? Kenneth stood up. Your Honor, financial success isn't the only measure of— Sit down, Mr. Morrison. I'm reading. Judge Price flipped through the pages. Continue, Mr. Reynolds. Gregory pulled out another folder. Now let's talk about what Mrs. Reynolds has been doing for the past 5 years. These are bank statements from my brother's joint savings account. Note the highlighted withdrawals. $15,000 here, $20,000 here, $35,000 here, all marked as business expenses. He handed those over too. Judge Price's eyes narrowed. And these, Gregory continued, pulling out more documents, are credit card statements, cards opened in my brother's name, cards he never applied for, cards he never used, but someone did, someone who made regular charges at hotels in Atlanta, restaurants in Miami, luxury purchases in New York City. Vanessa's face had gone from confident to pale. Kenneth was frantically scribbling notes, probably trying to figure out how to salvage this disaster. But Gregory wasn't done, not even close. Your Honor, I'd like to call Mrs. Reynolds to the stand. Judge Price looked at Kenneth. Any objection? Kenneth stood slowly. He looked like a man walking to his own execution. No, Your Honor. Vanessa took the stand. Her hands were shaking. Gregory approached her like a predator circling wounded prey. Mrs. Reynolds, you claim you sacrificed your career for your husband. What specifically did you sacrifice? I gave up opportunities, potential clients. I could have expanded my business, but Malcolm's academic career required me to— Let me stop you there. Gregory pulled out another document. This is a client list from your interior design business. In 18 years, you had a total of 43 clients. That's an average of 2.4 clients per year. Is that accurate? Vanessa's jaw tightened. I was selective about my clients. Selective, I see. And these withdrawals from the joint account, the ones totaling over $200,000, were those for your selective clients? Those were business expenses, equipment, materials, travel to meet with Antoine Jackson? The courtroom went dead silent. Vanessa's mouth opened. No sound came out. Kenneth Morrison dropped his pen. Gregory didn't wait for an answer. He pulled out a stack of printed emails. These are communications between you and Mr. Jackson, going back 5 years. Let me read a few highlights. Baby, that money you transferred came through. Booked us a suite at the Ritz in Atlanta. Here's another one. Used your husband's credit card for the wine. He'll never notice. Vanessa grabbed the edge of the witness stand. Those are private. Those are evidence of fraud, Mrs. Reynolds. Identity theft, forgery, and embezzlement. Gregory's voice was cold, clinical, devastating. You didn't sacrifice your career for your husband. You stole from him to fund an affair. Judge Price's expression had turned to stone. Mr. Morrison, did you know about any of this? Kenneth stood. He looked sick. No, Your Honor, I was not made aware of any of these activities. Then I suggest you confer with your client, now. But Gregory raised his hand. Your Honor, there's one more thing, the most egregious thing. He pulled out the quitclaim deed, the forged document that supposedly transferred my house to Vanessa. 6 months ago, someone filed this deed with the county. It transfers full ownership of my brother's home to Mrs. Reynolds as a gift. There's just one problem. Gregory handed it to the judge. That's not my brother's signature. We had it analyzed by a forensic document examiner. The report is attached. That signature is a forgery. Judge Price studied the document. Then she looked at Vanessa. And I saw something in the judge's eyes that made my blood run cold. Pure fury. Mrs. Reynolds, did you forge your husband's signature on this document? Vanessa opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I can explain. That's a yes or no question. Silence. Long, terrible. Then, barely a whisper, "Yes." The judge set down the document. "Mr. Morrison, I'm going to give you exactly 5 minutes to consult with your client. Because if I were you, I'd be withdrawing from this case immediately before you get dragged into a criminal investigation." Kenneth Morrison practically dragged Vanessa into the hallway. Through the courtroom windows, I could see them arguing. Vanessa was crying now. Kenneth was shaking his head, pointing at her, his face red with anger. Gregory sat down next to me. "It's over," he said quietly. "Morrison's going to withdraw. He has to. If he continues representing someone he knows committed forgery, he could be disbarred." "What happens to Vanessa?" "That depends on what the state's attorney decides to do with the evidence. But at minimum, she loses everything. The house stays yours. She gets 0 alimony. And she'll be lucky if she doesn't go to prison." I should have felt triumphant, victorious. But all I felt was tired. 18 years, gone. Revealed to be built on lies and theft. 5 minutes later, Kenneth and Vanessa came back in. Kenneth approached the bench. "Your Honor, after consulting with my client, I'm filing a motion to withdraw as counsel. There are ethical issues that prevent me from continuing representation." Judge Price nodded. "Motion granted. Mrs. Reynolds, you have the right to retain new counsel or represent yourself. What's it going to be?" Vanessa stood there, mascara running down her face, all her confidence shattered like glass. I need time to find someone. You have 48 hours. In the meantime, I'm issuing a temporary restraining order preventing you from accessing any jointly held assets, and I'm ordering you to vacate the marital home immediately." Judge Price looked at Gregory. "Mr. Reynolds, prepare a proposed settlement agreement. Something tells me Mrs. Reynolds is going to be very eager to settle when she realizes the alternative is a criminal trial." We left the courtroom. Vanessa stood in the hallway, alone. Antoine was nowhere to be found. Funny how quickly people disappear when the money runs out. She looked at me as I walked past, not angry, not defiant, just broken. "Malcolm," she said, "I'm sorry." I stopped, looked at her, really looked at her. "No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference." Gregory and I walked to the parking garage in silence. When we reached his car, he turned to me. "You okay?" "I don't know. I should feel better, but I just feel empty." "That's normal. You just watched 18 years of your life revealed as a lie. That's not something you bounce back from in a day." He paused. "But Malcolm, you did the right thing. You stood up for yourself. You fought back. That takes courage. I couldn't have done it without you." Gregory looked away, across the Chicago skyline. "About what happened with Dad's will. About our fight. I've been thinking about it a lot. I said some things I shouldn't have, things I can't take back." "So did I." "Yeah, but we lost 9 years because of it. 9 years of being brothers. And for what? Pride? Stubbornness?" I shook my head. "I don't want to lose any more time." He smiled. A real smile this time, not the shark smile. Just Greg, my brother. "Me neither." We hugged. Awkward at first, then genuine. And for the first time in 9 years, I felt like I had my family back. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because 2 days later, I got a call from Gregory that changed everything. "Malcolm, you need to sit down for this." I sat. "What is it?" "I just got off the phone with Kenneth Morrison. He called me as a courtesy. Vanessa came to him yesterday. She's ready to settle. She'll sign over any claim to the house, the pension, everything, in exchange for us agreeing not to pursue criminal charges." "That's good, right?" "Yes, but there's something else. She told Kenneth why she was so desperate to get the money, why she pushed so hard for the divorce." Gregory paused. "Malcolm, she's pregnant. 4 months. The baby is Antoine's." I sat there, phone in my hand, processing. Vanessa was pregnant with another man's child while we were still married, while she was stealing my money to fund her double life. "Antoine found out last week," Gregory continued. "He left her, disappeared, changed his number. Vanessa was trying to secure enough money from the divorce to raise the baby alone. That's why she forged the deed. That's why she was so aggressive. She was desperate. I should have felt vindictive, satisfied that karma had caught up with her. But instead, I just felt sad. Sad for the baby who would grow up with a mother facing potential criminal charges." Sad for Vanessa, who destroyed her entire life chasing something that was never real. "What do you want to do?" Gregory asked. I thought about it, really thought about it. "Accept the settlement, let her keep whatever's left in her personal accounts, enough to get by. But I want one thing in writing. She admits to the fraud. She admits to the forgery. And if she ever tries anything like this again, we go straight to the state's attorney. No second chances." "You're being generous, more generous than she deserves." "Maybe, but I don't want to be the kind of man who crushes someone when they're already down, even someone who tried to crush me first. I just want to move on, to rebuild, to find something real." The settlement was finalized a week later. I kept the house, my pension, everything I'd worked for. Vanessa signed a document admitting to fraud and forgery. In exchange, we didn't press criminal charges. She moved back in with her mother, started preparing for a baby she'd have to raise alone. I spent the next month cleaning out the house, removing pictures, packing up memories, starting over. Gregory drove down most weekends to help. We talked about everything, about Dad, about the will, about the years we'd lost, about what it meant to be brothers again. "You know," he said one Saturday afternoon, "if Vanessa hadn't done this, we might have gone another 9 years without speaking. That's a hell of a silver lining." "It's the only silver lining, but I'll take it." I looked around the empty house, at the bare walls, the clean slate. I wasted 18 years, Greg. 18 years with someone who was lying to me the whole time. You didn't waste them. You learned from them. You learned what you don't want, what you won't tolerate, what you deserve. He put his hand on my shoulder. And you learned that when life knocks you down, you've got family who'll help you get back up. That's not nothing. He was right. I'd lost a wife, but I'd gained back my brother. I'd lost 18 years of false comfort. But I'd gained the clarity to never accept less than genuine love again. I'd lost my naivety, but I'd gained my backbone. 6 months later, I stood in my backyard. The house was finally starting to feel like mine again. New furniture, new paint, a fresh start. Gregory was there, grilling burgers for a small gathering. Just family, Mom, a few cousins, people who mattered. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Malcolm, it's Vanessa. I had the baby, a girl. I named her Grace. I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because that chapter of my life was closed, finished, done. Gregory walked over. "You good?" "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. "I'm good." Because I'd learned the hardest lesson life can teach. Sometimes the person you love most is the person who will hurt you worst. Sometimes the life you built is built on sand. Sometimes you have to lose everything to remember who you really are. But when you stand up for yourself, when you refuse to be a victim, when you demand justice instead of accepting betrayal, you get something back that's more valuable than any house or pension or settlement. You get your dignity, your self-respect, your power, and nobody can ever take that away from you again. Thanks for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below.